And let me be very clear about Patricia Mitchell. She wasn't the kind of mother who baked cookies or helped with homework. She was the kind of mother who counted every dollar I cost her, who reminded me daily that I had ruined her life just by being born, who looked at my achievements not with pride, but with suspicion. When I graduated high school with a 3.9 GPA, she said, "You think you're special? Wait until life knocks you down." I was the scapegoat. I always was. But Emma was different. I had her when I was 18. Her father, Jake, was a mechanic I dated for 6 months. He disappeared the moment the pregnancy test turned positive. And you know what my mother said when I told her? She said, "Now you're officially just like me, stuck, broke, nothing." But she was wrong. Having Emma didn't make me stuck, it made me fierce. I worked 2 jobs. I waitressed at Denny's on weekends and clerked at a pharmacy on weekdays. I saved every penny. I enrolled at Spokane Community College and took pre-med classes at night while Emma slept in a pack-and-play in the corner of the lecture hall. The professors knew me. They knew my situation. One of them, Dr. Helen Reeves, pulled me aside one day in March of 2013 and said, "Sarah, you have something rare. You have grit. Apply to the University of Washington Medical School. I'll write your recommendation myself." I cried in my car for 20 minutes after that conversation. I was 22 years old. Emma was 4. And I had just been given a shot at becoming a doctor. A real shot. The application deadline was April 15th. I submitted mine on April 2nd. I checked the mailbox every single day for 3 weeks. And then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, April 30th, 2013, I opened an envelope that changed everything. I got in, full scholarship, housing stipend, everything. I remember running into our apartment, scooping Emma into my arms and spinning her around until we both fell onto the couch, giggling. "Mommy's going to be a doctor, baby," I whispered into her hair. "And you're coming with me. We're going to Seattle, just you and me." I had no idea that my mother had been listening from the kitchen. I had no idea that she had already made a phone call that morning. And I definitely had no idea that within 72 hours, everything I loved would be ripped away from me forever. But here's what they didn't know. Here's what Patricia Mitchell never understood about me. You can break my heart. You can steal my child. You can tell the world I'm dead, but you cannot kill my soul. And 12 years later, standing in that auditorium in a navy blue dress I bought specifically for this moment, with a medical degree and a life I built from absolute zero, I proved it. That night, I sat at our kitchen table with the acceptance letter spread out like a map to my future. Emma was asleep in her room, clutching the stuffed rabbit I'd won for her at the county fair 2 summers ago. I was calculating bus schedules, daycare costs, and apartment deposits when my mother walked in and sat across from me. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at that letter like it was a threat. "You're not taking her," she finally said. Her voice was flat, cold. The same voice she used when I was 12 and accidentally broke her favorite vase. "Mom, I have a full scholarship, housing stipend. I can support us both in Seattle. This is our chance." She laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. "You think you can raise a child and become a doctor? You're delusional, Sarah. You're going to fail. And when you do, that little girl will suffer. Is that what you want?" I felt my hands shaking under the table. "I'm not going to fail." "You already have. Look at you, 22, single, working at Denny's. That's not a mother, that's a statistic." I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the linoleum. "I'm leaving in August, and Emma is coming with me. You can't stop me." My mother smiled then. And that smile still haunts my nightmares. I arrived in Seattle at 6:15 a.m. on May 11th, 2013. The city was gray and drizzling, exactly like my mood. I had $340, no place to sleep, and a heart that felt like it had been put through a shredder. But I also had something else. I had that acceptance letter, and I had a plan. The plan was simple in concept and brutal in execution. I would become a doctor. I would build a life so unassailable, so successful, so bulletproof that no court in the country could deny me. And then I would come back for my daughter. My mother thought she was punishing me by sending me away with nothing. She thought I'd crawl back to Spokane within a month, begging for forgiveness, begging to see Emma. She never imagined I'd actually do it. She never imagined I'd survive. Those first 6 months were the hardest of my life. I slept in a women's shelter on Cherry Street for the first 3 weeks. I showered in community centers. I ate peanut butter sandwiches for dinner and saved every penny. I called the University of Washington admissions office and explained my situation. I told them I couldn't accept the scholarship yet. Not because I didn't want to, but because I needed to work first, save money, build stability. The admissions director, a woman named Margaret Chen, listened to my entire story without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Sarah, the scholarship is valid for 1 year. You defer, you work, you come back. We'll be waiting." I got a job as a CNA at Harborview Medical Center, $14.50 an hour. Night shifts. I changed bedpans, took vitals, held the hands of dying patients at 3 a.m. I worked 60 hours a week. I lived in a studio apartment the size of a closet on Capitol Hill. $650 a month, utilities included. I had a hot plate, a mini fridge, and a mattress on the floor. Every night before I fell asleep, I looked at that photograph of Emma and me at Spokane Falls. Every morning when I woke up, I touched it like a prayer. In September 2014, I finally enrolled at UW. I was 23 years old, older than most freshmen, poorer than all of them, but hungrier. Dr. Helen Reeves, the professor who had written my original recommendation, became my advisor. She became more than that. She became the mother figure I never had. She checked on me. She brought me groceries when she knew I was eating ramen for the 3rd week straight. She sat with me in her office at 10 p.m. while I studied for organic chemistry and told me, "Sarah, you are going to be an extraordinary physician, not because you're smart, because you've suffered, and you still choose to heal." I graduated from UW in 2018 with a 3.97 GPA. I got into UW School of Medicine on a full ride. I specialized in emergency medicine because I knew what it felt like to have your life crash around you with no warning. I wanted to be the person who showed up when everything was falling apart. During those years, I tried to contact Emma. I sent letters to my mother's address in Spokane. They came back unopened. I called. The number was disconnected. I hired a private investigator in 2016. $2,400, every cent I had saved that semester. He found them living in a house on the South Hill. He told me Emma was enrolled in a private school. He told me she was healthy. He told me she called my mother Mom. That last detail broke something in me I didn't know could break. I didn't hire him again. I couldn't bear it. Instead, I poured everything into my work. I finished medical school in 2022. I completed my residency at Swedish Medical Center. In 2024, at age 32, I became a board-certified emergency physician with a salary of $285,000 a year. I bought a condo in Belltown with a view of Puget Sound. I had a car, a silver Audi I paid for in cash. I had colleagues who respected me, patients who trusted me, and a life that looked from the outside like a complete success story. But I still had that photograph on my nightstand, and I still had a hole in my chest where my daughter should have been. Then, in March of 2025, just 3 months ago, everything changed. I was scrolling through Facebook during a break in the ER. I had created a fake profile years ago to search for my mother, for Emma, for anyone connected to them. I never found anything. My mother was smart. She kept Emma off social media. She kept their lives locked down tight. But Emma was 17 now, and teenagers make mistakes. She had created a profile. It was private, but her profile picture was visible. And when I saw that face, my face, older, with my mother's cheekbones and my eyes, I stopped breathing. Her bio said, Senior at Lakeside High School, graduation June 7th, 2025. June 7th, 2025. 12 years to the day after I signed that paper. I stared at that date for 10 minutes. I didn't move. I didn't blink. And then I did something I hadn't done since I was 22 years old. I cried. But this time they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of war. I had 12 years of preparation. I had a medical degree, a bank account, and a life that no one could question. And in 3 months, my daughter was going to walk across a graduation stage. My mother would be there. I knew she would. She would want to take credit for Emma's success. She would want to sit in the front row and pretend she was the hero of this story. But here's what she didn't know. I had already bought my ticket to Spokane. I had already found the venue, the Spokane Arena. I had already planned exactly what I would wear, exactly where I would sit, and exactly what I would say when the moment came, because I wasn't just going to watch my daughter graduate. I was going to reclaim my life. But before I tell you what happened when I walked into that arena, before I tell you about the look on my mother's face when she saw me, you need to understand something. I wasn't the same scared 22-year-old girl she had manipulated. I was Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I was done running. Wait until you hear what I did the night before graduation. It changed everything. I need to tell you about the night before, June 6th, 2025. I was in room 412 at the Davenport Grand in downtown Spokane. I had flown in that morning. The city looked exactly the same and completely different. Same streets, same smell of pine and river water. But I was different. I laid out my dress on the bed. Navy blue, silk, $340 from Nordstrom. I know that number seems random, but it wasn't. It was exactly what I had in my bank account the night I left Spokane 12 years ago. I spent every dollar I earned since then building myself back up. And I spent that exact amount on the dress I would wear when I reclaimed my daughter. At 8:47 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Spokane area code. I knew. I don't know how, but I knew. Sarah. My mother's voice. 12 years older. Sharper. I know you're in town. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Your Aunt Linda saw you at the airport. Small town, Sarah. You should know better. She paused. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to leave. Tonight. Why? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Afraid I'll ruin your big day, Mom? Emma thinks you're dead, she said. Flat. No emotion. I've told her for 12 years that you died in a car accident, that you loved her but you left her. She has grieved you. She has moved on. If you walk into that arena tomorrow, you will destroy her. I felt the room tilt. A car accident? That's the lie she told? Not that I abandoned her. Not that I was a bad mother. But that I died? You're lying, I whispered. Am I? She laughed. Check her Facebook, Sarah. Check the post from last Mother's Day. She wrote about how much she misses her angel mom. She doesn't know you exist. And if you love her, if you ever loved her, you'll stay dead. I should have hung up. I should have screamed. But something in me went quiet. Dangerously quiet. Mom, I said, I'm not staying dead. And tomorrow, everyone in that arena is going to know exactly what you did. You have no proof, she snapped. You signed that paper, you gave her up. I was 22. You manipulated me. And I have 12 years of tax returns, medical degrees, and character witnesses that say I'm a hell of a lot more fit than you ever were. She hung up. I sat on that hotel bed for an hour, staring at the wall. She had told my daughter I was dead. Not gone. Not absent. Dead. The cruelty of it was almost impressive. Almost. But it also gave me something I didn't have before. Certainty. I wasn't just going to that graduation to see my daughter. I was going to resurrect myself. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. I did my hair, the same light brown I always had, but now with subtle highlights I could afford. I put on that navy dress. I put on the pearl earrings Dr. Reeves gave me when I graduated med school, and I looked in the mirror. You're Dr. Sarah Mitchell, I told my reflection, and you are not dead. I arrived at the Spokane Arena at 9:30 a.m. The ceremony started at 10. I had bought my ticket online 3 months ago. Section 112, row D, seat 14. Close enough to see everything, far enough to not be noticed immediately. The arena filled with families, grandparents with flowers, parents with cameras, siblings with signs. I scanned every face, looking for the one I hated and the one I loved. I found my mother at 9:52. She was in the front row. Of course she was. She wore a cream-colored suit and a corsage. She looked older. Her hair was fully gray now, cut in that severe bob she always preferred. She was smiling, chatting with the woman next to her, the picture of the proud grandmother. My hands shook. I gripped my purse until my knuckles turned white. At 9:58, the lights dimmed. The principal took the stage. The crowd cheered. And at 10:15, they started calling names. I don't remember most of them. I was too focused, too ready. I had a folder in my lap, thick, heavy, full of every piece of evidence I had collected. Photographs, legal documents, the original custody agreement, letters I had written to Emma that were returned unopened, my medical license, my tax returns, proof of my life, proof of my love. Emma Mitchell was the 47th graduate. When the principal said her name, the crowd applauded. My mother stood up, clapping, beaming, and I stood up too. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't just standing to watch. I was standing to speak. And what I said next? It changed 3,000 lives in that room, including my own. Wait until you hear what happened when Emma turned around. Emma turned around. I saw it happen in slow motion. The black graduation gown swirled against her legs. The gold tassel caught the stage lights. Her eyes, my eyes, scanned the crowd looking for her grandmother, and then they found me. She froze. From 50 feet away, I watched confusion wash over her face. She tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to place a memory, a dream, a ghost. I started walking. I moved down the aisle past row C, past row B, past the ushers with their programs and their polite smiles. My heels clicked against the concrete floor. 3,000 people were in that arena, but in that moment, I heard nothing except my own heartbeat. Ma'am, an usher touched my elbow. Please return to your seat. I kept walking. I reached the front row at exactly the moment Emma stepped off the stage. She was holding her diploma with both hands, staring at me like I was a hallucination. My mother saw me then, really saw me. Her face went white, not pale, white, like all the blood had drained from her body in a single second. Sarah, she hissed. Don't you dare. I didn't look at her. I looked at my daughter. Emma, I said. My voice cracked on her name. 12 years of silence shattered in 2 syllables. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I am your mother. The arena went quiet. Not completely silent. There was a rustling, a murmuring, the sound of 3,000 people realizing something was very wrong. but in the front section, where we stood, you could hear a pin drop. My mother grabbed my wrist. Her fingers dug in like claws. "She's confused," she announced to the people around us. "Mental illness. She used to be a patient of mine when I was a social worker. She fixates on families." I pulled my arm free. "I was never your patient, Patricia. I was your daughter, and Emma is my child." I opened the folder I had carried down the aisle. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady, surgical, precise. "June 7th, 2013, I said, loud enough for the front rows to hear. "You made me sign a custody agreement under duress. I have the original right here." I held up the paper. "You told me it was temporary. You told me if I went to medical school and built a stable life, I could come back for her." My mother's eyes darted to the people around her, to the principal still standing on stage, to the security guards moving toward us from the east entrance. "You told Emma I was dead," I continued. My voice grew stronger. "You told her I died in a car accident. You showed her a gravestone that doesn't exist. You let her grieve for a mother who was alive and working and saving every penny to come back for her." I pulled out a stack of envelopes. "These are the letters I wrote. Every birthday, every Christmas, every first day of school, all returned unopened. 47 letters, Patricia. 47 times I tried to tell my daughter I loved her." Emma was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face, ruining the makeup she had applied so carefully that morning. She looked from me to my mother and back again. "You're lying," my mother whispered. But her voice had lost its edge. It sounded hollow, desperate. "Am I?" I reached into my purse and pulled out my wallet. I flipped it open to my medical license. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, University of Washington School of Medicine, board-certified emergency physician, tax returns showing $285,000 annual income, a condo, a car, a life. I held it up for everyone to see. "Does this look like a dead woman to you?" A man in the second row, I never learned his name, stood up and started recording on his phone. Then a woman next to him. Then a teenager in the row behind. Within 30 seconds, there were 20 phones pointed at us. Security arrived. 2 men in navy blazers. "Ma'am, we need you to step outside." "I'm not leaving," I said calmly. "Not until my daughter knows the truth. Not until everyone here knows what this woman did." I turned to Emma. She was shaking. The diploma in her hands trembled like a leaf in wind. "Emma," I said softly, "I never left you. I never abandoned you. I went to Seattle to become someone who could fight for you. And I did. I became a doctor. I built a life. And every single day, I thought about you. I sang our song in the car. I remembered how you laughed when I tickled your feet. I kept your photograph by my bed for 12 years. I pulled out the photograph, the one from Spokane Falls. Her at 3 years old, me at 21, both of us grinning at the camera with ice cream on our chins. Emma gasped. She took a step toward me, then another. "Don't!" my mother shrieked. "Emma, don't go to her. She's a stranger. I'm the one who raised you. I'm the one who was there." Emma stopped. She looked at my mother, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw something in my daughter's eyes that gave me hope. She saw the fear. My mother wasn't confident anymore. She wasn't. Emma looked at my mother for exactly 5 seconds. I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then she turned to me and said the only words that mattered. "Mom?" Not Sarah. Not that lady. Mom. I don't remember crossing the distance between us. I don't remember dropping the folder or the medical license or the 47 letters. I only remember the feeling of my daughter's arms around my neck and the sound of her sobbing into my shoulder and the smell of her hair. Strawberry shampoo, the same brand I used to buy, the same scent I had dreamed about for 4,383 days. "I thought you were dead," she whispered. "She told me you were dead." "I know, baby. I know. But I'm here. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere." My mother tried to pull Emma away. Her hand reached out, trembling, grasping at the gown. "Emma, please. I did everything for you. I gave you everything. Private school, dance lessons, that car for your 16th birthday. I was your mother." Emma stepped back, not toward my mother, toward me. She wiped her face with the sleeve of her graduation gown and looked at the woman who had raised her with an expression I can only describe as grief mixed with fury. "You lied to me," Emma said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. "Every Mother's Day, every birthday, every time I cried myself to sleep because I missed her, you let me think she was dead. You let me mourn her. What kind of person does that?" My mother crumpled, literally crumpled. She sank into her front row seat, her cream suit wrinkling, her corsage tilting sideways. For the first time in my life, I saw Patricia Mitchell without her armor, without her control, without her lies. And do you know what I felt? Not joy, not triumph, not even satisfaction. I felt pity. Because I realized, standing there in that arena with my daughter's hand in mine, that my mother had lost everything. Not because I took it from her, but because she had built her entire life on a foundation of sand. And when the tide came in, as tides always do, it washed everything away. The security guards didn't escort us out. They stood there, awkward and uncertain, as the principal cleared his throat and tried to resume the ceremony. But nobody was listening anymore. The story had already happened. The truth was already out. We left the arena together, Emma and me. We walked past the crowds, past the recording phones, past the whispers and the stares. We got into my rental car and drove to a diner on Division Street, the same diner where I had signed that paper 12 years ago. We sat in a booth by the window, we ordered pancakes, and we talked. For 6 hours we talked. I told her everything. Seattle, medical school, the shelter, the night shifts, the photograph by my bed. She told me about her life, the private school my mother had bragged about, the loneliness she had never been able to name, the way she had always felt like something was missing, even when she had everything. "I used to dream about you," she said, stirring her cold coffee. "Not as a ghost, just as a feeling, like someone was supposed to be there but wasn't." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm here now, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never feel that again." My mother tried to call Emma that night, and the next day, and the next. Emma blocked her number. We filed a petition to overturn the custody agreement. With my medical license, my income, my stability, and Emma's own testimony that she wanted to live with me, the court granted it within 2 weeks. Patricia Mitchell lost everything she had stolen, not because I sought revenge, but because the truth, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. I didn't cut her out of cruelty. I cut her out of protection, mine, Emma's. The boundary was necessary, and it was permanent. We moved to Seattle together. Emma enrolled at the University of Washington for fall semester. She wants to study psychology, to understand, she says, how people break and how they heal. I think she'll be extraordinary at it. As for me, I still work the ER. I still save lives. But now I come home to a daughter who knows I'm alive, who knows I fought for her, who knows that love, real love, doesn't manipulate or control or lie. It shows up. Even after 12 years, it shows up. If you're still watching, thank you. This was the hardest story I've ever told, but I told it because I know there are people out there right now who feel trapped, who feel like they've lost everything, who feel like giving up. Don't. Build your life, brick by brick. Night shift by night shift, dollar by dollar. The people who hurt you want you to stay small. They want you to stay broken. They want you to believe you're dead. Prove them wrong. Now I want to hear from you. If someone you loved told a lie that changed your life, how did you find your way back to the truth? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this video moved you, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. I post new stories every Friday, real stories about real people who refuse to stay down. And if you want to hear what happened when Emma met Dr. Helen Reeves for the first time, the woman who saved my life, let me know in the comments. That story deserves its own video. Until next time, remember, you are not what they said you were. You are not dead. You are not gone. You are still here, and that means you still have time.